My Trillionaire Son-in-Law. Chapter 1. Shangjiang City, Guangdong Province. Holding a little girl who was in a coma, Andrew Cheng rushed to Shangjiang People's Hospital, shouting loudly, "Doctor! Doctor! Help my daughter!" Many nurses and doctors ran and rushed the child into Andrew Cheng's arms in the emergency room. "Hey, you can't come in." A female nurse wearing a sky blue nurse uniform and mask intercepted Andrew Cheng, who was about to rush into the emergency room. At this time, the sound of high heels quickly hitting the tiles came from behind. "Do-do-do-do, hidden in my heart." Andrew Cheng. Scream. Locked. A strong slap, a strong fan on Andrew Cheng's face. In front of Andrew Cheng, Marian Young, full of anger, tears in her beautiful eyes. "If something goes wrong with my daughter, I will never forgive you." Her tone was cold and full of anger. This scene scared the families and patients of many patients at the hospital. Andrew Cheng covered his head in shame and did not explain. "Huh." Marian Young snorted coldly. Outsiders could see the displeasure and disdain in her eyes. And Andrew Cheng stood aside like a child who made a mistake, lowered his head and didn't dare to speak. He only secretly glanced at the woman who was 2 or 3 meters away from him. His wife. A woman who has signed a divorce agreement with him and can legally divorce at any time. Marian Young is very beautiful, with delicate facial features, tall stature, proud curves, knowledgeable and polite. She used to be a university school flower, but she fell in love with Andrew Cheng unexpectedly. However, his married life is unsatisfactory. Andrew Cheng's job is not smooth, his business is failing, and his daughter suffers from a congenital heart disease. He spent all his savings. Now he makes a living by delivering food. Miss Marian Young, Deputy General Manager of the listed company's marketing department, and her parents were people in the system, a section chief and a retired teacher. It can be said that Andrew Cheng's status in the Young family is very low, and he has no sense of existence in the past 2 years. Also because of Andrew Cheng, Marian Young had big conflicts with her family, and her parents didn't have any support. The old couple told them very seriously that unless they left, the granddaughter's medical expenses would be subsidized, and after the divorce, the child would have to return to the Young family. It's a 1-year delay. The emergency room door was pushed open, and Andrew Cheng saw his daughter being pushed out. He wanted to hurry up, but saw Marian Young had run over. He stopped and looked at her beautiful daughter from a distance. Milzen Grain stretched out its little white hands, put on a breathing mask, its big eyes shone like black gems, and muttered, "Father." Andrew Cheng walked over, held his daughter's cold little hand, gently stroked the hair on her forehead, and said with a smile, "Father is here. Mom, don't fight with Daddy, it's a grain of rice that's not good, and ask Daddy to take me to the playground." The 3-year-old Milzen spoke for Andrew Cheng in a weak voice at this time. Marian Young smiled and replied, "Okay, mother listens to Mil and doesn't quarrel with father." Andrew Cheng, pay the hospital fee. A cold voice interrupted the conversation between Andrew Cheng and his daughter. He glanced at Marian Young, the other party only glanced coldly, and accompanied her daughter to the ward. He rushed to the payment office in the inpatient department, and Andrew Cheng took out his bank card. "Sorry, your card is out of money," the nurse said coldly, glancing at him. It was Andrew Cheng. One Dio-C, a beggar who had no money, kept asking his wife to pay for medical expenses. Obviously he could ask his mother-in-law and father-in-law, but he didn't ask. Such a faceless man. Trash. No money. Andrew Cheng felt embarrassed. He scrunched up his face, bowed humbly and asked, "Nurse, can you grant me a few days of grace?" The nurse glanced at Andrew Cheng coldly, her eyes sneered, and said, "You don't have any money. Ask your wife, after all, you are also a gentle eater." "You." Andrew Cheng's face sank. The nurse put her hand on her chest and snorted. "Tomorrow, if you don't pay, just do the discharge procedure." After that, she turned around and ignored him, she found it disgusting to even say a word to a man like this. Are you being bullied for having no money? Andrew Cheng was unwilling, and clenched his fists angrily. As soon as he turned around, he saw Marion Young standing behind him with a cold temper, his cold face filled with loathing. Marion, don't worry, I will go collect the money now. Andrew Cheng forced a smile. His and Marion's savings were all spent. Tears welled up in Marion's eyes, and she clenched her fists tightly and said, Andrew Cheng, if you are still a boy, go and ask my parents. Andrew Cheng was taken aback, many words stuck in his throat. Ha ha. Marion Young wiped the tears from her face and laughed at herself. I know that you will always be like this. Is your pride more important than a grain of rice? Seemingly seeing through Andrew Cheng, Marion turned around, leaving Andrew Cheng with a cold back. With a helpless sigh, Andrew Cheng received the order reminder on his cell phone. He could only rush into the ward, say a few words to his daughter, and leave. Before leaving, Marion Young told him one last time, Andrew Cheng, it's my father's birthday this weekend. If you don't want a divorce, go and beg my parents. Without a choice, Andrew Cheng knew that this was Marion's last patience with him. Just as he was about to leave the hospital, he was stopped by an arrogant male voice. Oh, isn't this Andrew Cheng? Where are you going in such a hurry? Looking up, a handsome man was standing in front of Andrew Cheng, wearing a neat suit, with a fruit basket and a Peppa doll in his hands. Lester Cow. Who asked you to come? Andrew Cheng's face immediately turned pale. Lester Cow, his best friend in college, but ever since he and Marion Young got married, they became sworn enemies. Lester Cow also likes Marion Young. I asked him to come over. Marion Young came at this time and walked directly past Andrew Cheng, with an apologetic smile on her face. Brother Cow, I'm sorry, I have to trouble you again. When Lester Cow saw Marion Young, the sarcasm on his face also turned into a broad smile, and said, It's okay, I'm also Milson's uncle. This is for Mill, and I will pay for it now. After all, he glanced at Andrew Cheng proudly, with a look of disdain in his eyes. Andrew Cheng clenched his fists and asked Marion Young with a cold face, Why did you ask him to borrow money? Are you rich? Do you want Mill to be discharged from the hospital tomorrow? Marion Young looked at Andrew with a cold face, then turned around to follow Lester Cow in front of her, chatting and laughing with her. When Andrew Cheng saw this scene, his eyes split open, and his pride took a huge hit. Money, money. It's all money. Andrew Cheng stood at the entrance of the hospital, and after standing for a long time, he breathed a sigh of relief, looked up at the blue sky, then picked up his cell phone and called. Rat, where are you? Let's meet. In the rented house, Andrew Cheng and Alvin Lau sat facing each other. Alvin Lau, who was quite dark and thin, handed the Agricultural Bank of China card to Andrew Cheng and said, This is 60,000 yuan, you can take it first. Andrew Cheng took the bank card and said with shaking hands, Mouse, thank you, thank you. What to thank? Who are we? Alvin Lau laughed. I do not agree. Loudly, the door of the rental house was pushed open, and a tall woman rushed in angrily. Alvin, that's the dowry you gave to my family, why did you give it to him? This woman is Alvin Lau's girlfriend, named Melanie Sue. He has a 7-point appearance, is a little arrogant, and has a strong eye. Melanie, isn't this rice grain hospitalized? I lent it to Andrew Cheng for emergency use. Alvin Lau stepped forward and pulled Melanie Sue to explain. Melanie Sue let go of his hand, looked at Andrew Cheng and sneered. Oh, Andrew Cheng, this is the first time you have borrowed money from our Alvin Lau family. You are shameless and I want to be ashamed. Melanie Sue. Alvin said in a deep voice, pulling on his sleeve. Melanie Sue didn't care. He pointed directly at Alvin Lau's nose and scolded. Alvin, if you borrow this money today, I will break up with you. Don't get married either. Seeing that they were about to fight, Andrew Cheng put the card on the table, got up and nodded and said apologetically, "Sorry, that, mouse, next time I go to drink your wedding wine, I will go first." "No." Melanie Sue said coldly. Before Alvin Lau could give chase, Andrew Cheng ran out of the rented house. Behind him, the door slammed shut, followed by an argument between Melanie Sue and Alvin Lau. Walking on the street, Andrew Cheng squatted on the ground, holding a cell phone and smoking, not knowing what he was thinking. Poverty is the original sin, and it is impossible to move without money. As if making a decision, Andrew Cheng dialed a number he had not called in the past 7 years. Active phone. "Hey, young master, is that you, young master? You can call me." The voice on the other side of the phone was very excited, with a sense of flux, even crying faintly. Andrew Cheng sighed helplessly and said, "Old Con, I am short on money, can you transfer me 100,000? "Hey, young master, what are you talking about? Don't say 100,000, even if you want 1 billion, I will transfer it to you." The old man on the other end of the phone was excited the first second, but hesitated. The next second. "But young master, according to the agreement between you and the master, if you want to use money and family connections, you need to come back to inherit the family property. Why don't you come to the company and let's talk?" Andrew Cheng pondered a bit and said, "Okay, I will go there." "Hey, okay, young master, I will send someone to send a car to pick you up," said Old Con excitedly. "No need, I'll do it myself," Andrew Cheng said, and then suddenly asked, "By the way, which company?" "Chungding Group. I am waiting for you at the director's office." "Mr. Arnel Khan." Andrew Cheng hung up the phone and looked at the endless crowd in front of him. "Well, the battle is over. I, Andrew Cheng, am actually the second generation of the rich. Family assets are spread all over the world, and about 70% of the industry is owned by the family. In the past 7 years, Andrew Cheng ran out to escape the family inheritance and experience the life of an ordinary person. But today, he had given up on reality. If you don't work hard and have no money, you will again inherit the family's trillions of treasures. Soon, Andrew Cheng drove the battery car to the Chungding Group building. It is a building over 300 meters high, ranking 7th among the world's top 500 companies. Of course, the top 500 companies in the world are all owned by the Cheng family or invested. As soon as he entered the hall, Andrew Cheng was stopped by a coquettish scream. "Hey, who are you? Who told you to come in? Go out, and takeaways are not allowed in. Call someone to come down and get it." A beautiful woman in a black professional dress blocked Andrew Cheng's way and gave a warning. This woman looks like a royal sister. Her body is also very hot, and her long ivory legs are more and more voluptuous. "What do you see? Isn't that disgusting, bastard? Get me out now." Minerva Song glared at Andrew Cheng disdainfully. She had seen too many food delivery DOC. Next chapter. My Trillionaire Son-in-Law.